What is up, gamers? Staxwell's back at it again today with another video. A little bit of a meta-analysis here. I want to break down these top 8 deck lists at the last Flesh and Blood World Championships and kind of go over a few of the tech choices, few of the interesting inclusions or exclusions from the decks that may have helped them stand out and land themselves a spot in the top 8 of the Worlds. Congrats to all these players. I'm not going to go over every single card, just going to kind of go over what's different or what's making them tick. Also, huge shout out to Alex for taking down the whole event with a widely regarded as like a C tier hero by the community. You know, you look at all of these pro player tier lists, and this keeps happening time and time again, where they get it wrong. Fi wins the whole event. U.S. Nationals Briar wins the whole event. Keeps happening, so don't give up on your favorite heroes. Yeah, I don't want to waste too much more time on it. Let's just go ahead and jump into some of the deck lists here. First one I want to talk about is Easton Douglas's Dash deck. This one is very interesting. If you look at it, it's actually, this is what Teklovaston wishes he was. It's just like very slow, very turtly, throwing out a few big attacks here and there, and then evoing. It's got 2 evo spots, along with the 3 Terminator tank and 3 War Machines. So kind of like the cool part of Teklovaston thrown into a Tree Frog Dash deck. Very cool stuff here. Just a lot of D-Rags, a lot of blues, a lot of 3 blocks, sigils, a lot of poppers, a lot of big attacks. If you ever keep a 2-card hand, you throw Fendals at them. This is very interesting. Turtle Dash has just kind of cemented itself in the format since Lexi's been gone as a good deck. Neat stuff here. Very out of left field. A lot of innovation from Easton. Next up is Yuki Lee Bender's list. She opted to play 2 Cadaverous Contraband in addition to all of the other attacks. Didn't cut any. Still playing the Wounded Bull, Fendals, Scar for Scar, E-Strike, Command and Conquers, but in the addition, Cadaverous Contraband. This is definitely for Dromai. You know, being able to throw this at a Dromai, getting the on hit, putting a Channel Lake on top of your deck is very powerful in the matchup. Another notable exclusion from the deck is she's only on 2 Frost Hex, 2 Ice Eternal. This must mean that they were not planning on winning by that method as frequently as in the past, right? Frost Hex combo just isn't something that's happening as often as it used to be. Maybe less Bravo in the meta, less, you know, Oldhim, less Guardians in general. But other than that, it is pretty standard. There's not a lot of flex spots in Icelander. Another interesting addition is Winter's Grasp. I assume this is also for Dromai. Being able to throw this at a Miragai or something like that is pretty powerful stuff. So yeah, it seems like a very basic Icelander deck, but slightly teched toward the Dromai matchup. Next up is Daniel's Fi deck. This is not the Fi that won the whole thing. But this is the Fi that got knocked down in top 8. Still, massive accomplishment, even just hitting the top 8. One thing to note is that both of the Fis are on Harmonized Kodachis, but Daniel was opting to run the Searing Embers Blade as well. This is very likely just a side deck option for something like Icelander. Kind of ready for the matchup on Momentum and Mask of the Pouncing Links. Nothing too crazy there, but a lot of abnormal Fi cards. Just to point out a few, Bittering Thorns has been overperforming since it came out. 1 for 5 with Go Again. Turns out to be very good stats. Bleed Out. A lot of Fi players have been including this in their deck, particularly when they play Kodachis. Not just Fi players, I guess some Katsu players play it too. But yeah, 2 for 6 with Go Again. Pretty good stats. Censor was a 3 of. I think this player even said that this was his favorite card. Let me know in the comments down below why you think that is. But I can't fully imagine why that is. Like, just calling random cards seems bizarre to me. Seems totally crazy. But 1 for 5 that blocks 3 is a solid stat line. Reinforce the line. This is interesting because both Fis were playing Reinforce the line. This is probably to dodge like Dominate, Command and Conquer, probably a little bit of a tech against Bravo. Warmongers, of course, is in every deck. Stab Wound is now in every deck as well. This is just slotted perfectly into any deck that plays Kodachis. And Concealed Blade is also another good one that a lot of ninjas are playing just to get that additional +1, almost like an Ancestral Empowerment type effect. Force 3 or Mask of Momentum triggers. Other than that, this is pretty standard Pretty standard Fi stuff here. Only AB1, but you know, again, that's pretty normal for Fi. Moving on, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name because I will not do it justice. This is the second place player that played Icelander, notably on Ironhide Gauntlet. This has mostly been forgotten about and been moved on from the meta, but there's a lot of hands where, like, you know, you'll have like a channel in Arsenal, you pitch a blue, activate the channel, and use the remaining resource to pay for the Ironhide Gauntlet. I see why he slotted in. I don't hate the card, but that is something that's worth noting. Also, 3 Arctic Incarceration. Kind of weird. This player was like ready and teched out for the Ninja Mirror. Unfortunately, things didn't quite play out that way in the end. Ultimately, this player lost to Ninja in top 2, but he was absolutely prepared for it. Other than that, this is just the most basic Icelander list I've ever seen. 2 Warmongers. Something to note here is that 6 of the top 8 players were all playing Warmongers. So this is probably why we didn't see decks like Azalea perform well. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, pretty standard list. Not a whole lot to talk about. Just very solid plays from this player here. 1 Dromai snuck in the top. This was like the projected deck to like win the whole thing, take up a majority of the top. This was like the boogeyman, the deck to beat going into the tournament. A few things to note is that they were on the Dominion, Crown of Dominion, and then also instead of Snapdragon Scalers like most players have opted to do now that you don't need Time Skippers because you have the gold token, you have to put something in the boot slot. A lot of people were opting for Snapdragons. This player went with Mage Master boots. Pretty interesting stuff, and then they paired it with 3 Toma Fendal. Toma Fendal also being very good, of course, with Chromai. The endgame plan looks like it was Ghostly Touch and Dusk from the Chrome Caverns ×2. So kind of teched out to beat the Bravo matchup. 1 Pursuit of Knowledge. This is for the Mirror. So just as a 1 of there is kind of funny. Other than that, nothing super interesting. Again, we're seeing that Cadaverous Contraband. This is, of course, for the Mirror. Serves double duty as a popper and a way to kill a big dragon and get a rake on top of your deck. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. Yeah, just Mage Master boost is really what stands this deck apart from the rest of the Dromais in the field. All right, next up is Matthew W's dash deck. This is a pretty standard boost dash deck. Few things to note is that he's almost entirely dropped the T-Bone and Magnetic Shockwave, like forcing your opponent to defend with equipment package. Just playing the blue T-Bone. You know, red T-Bone was even replaced by Sprocket Rocket, which is a 0 for 3 boost that if an item or equipment was banished from boosting, it gets +1. So yeah, even that super situational, not always going to go off effect was better than red T-Bone here. This makes sense because New Horizons isn't in the meta anymore. But looking back, maybe it was worth playing all the T-Bones and stuff, because that stuff does kind of farm Ninja, since all of Ninja's equipment is Blade Break as well. If you could steal like a Mask of Momentum or a Mask of the Pouncing Lynx against them, that would be kind of hype. Only other weird cards, I guess, would be the Backup Protocol Red. I imagine this is even a sideboard card. They're not always playing it. This is the regular Dash, not Dash IO, so I don't see a lot of extra value from playing this. Probably just fetching back like payloads and getting additional leak damage through, or fetching back max velocities and just trying to go bigger against the more fatiguey decks. But yeah, pretty standard list here. Oh, the 3 Evo Soul Controllers to put on top of the Teklo base arms is kind of spicy as well. Again, I think that is a side deck against the slower matchups where you can put an action card with 6 or more attack from your graveyard into your deck, so you're putting back like maximum velocity. I imagine that's what it's for. Not 100% sure, but that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, pretty standard boost dash deck here. Next up, we have the Lone Katsu. This Katsu was pretty interesting, playing a bit more of a defensive stance because it was playing 3 Reinforce the Line, 3 Flick Flack. Very interesting. All the ninjas were playing Reinforce the Line. Keep that in mind. Look how many are on the market. Keep that in mind. There's not that many out there. Reinforce the Line is a very good card. Very underrated. I've always thought it was super good. So I'm glad to see it's finally getting its time to shine. Other than that, this list is like very regular Katsu stuff. Nothing super out of the ordinary. 3 Warmongers as well, of course, but that's regular Katsu stuff. But I'm just like speaking to the popularity of Warmongers, I guess. I think this guy did an interview and he said his favorite card was Flick Flack as well. So yeah. All right, last up we have Alex's deck list, the world champion. What's going on with his that's so different? He's also playing the Searing Ember's Blade in addition to the Kodachis. Both ninjas are playing all of the weapons. Again, this is probably for like the Icelander matchup. Kodachis into Icelander just does not feel good when they drop a Channel Lake or a Blizzard or something like that on you. Bittering Thorns turns out to be a very good card. 1 for 5 with Go Again is just kind of too good of stats. 3 Reinforce the Line just keeps coming up. Erase Face, this is for like the mirror, for dash, they can't boost anymore. Maybe even to some extent for Icelander. They can't like set up these why am I forgetting the name of the card? They can't set up Aether Ice Vein. Yeah, I only played Icelander for like a year. I only have one hanging from my wall and I can't remember the signature card name. Yeah, but like if you attack with this, they can no longer hold that and play it against you. They have to start blocking. Yeah, nothing super out of the ordinary here. Again, Stab Wound has made its way into every deck with Kodachis. That's all we got, guys. What do you guys think of these top 8 decks? Was this anything you guys were expecting? Were these decks spicy or have tech that most people didn't see coming? I think they were all super interesting. I think it's interesting to see a lot of these generic cards see more play, like Cadaver's Contraband, Reinforce the Line, Erase Face. Very interesting to see these older tech cards come back into the meta as new heroes rotate. Just kind of seeing some of this stuff get the dust blown off it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, rate, subscribe. Help the algorithm. Help me out. Later, gamers.